Have you ever looked into a mirror and asked yourself, who am I? Really? Am I the wealth I've earned? The position I hold? The clothes I wear? Or am I just a soul, wrapped in flesh, destined to return to dust? You see, arrogance whispers in the ears of the powerful and deludes the rich into thinking they are untouchable. It convinces the beautiful they are flawless and tells the scholar he knows enough. But in reality, we are nothing without Allah. Every breath we take, every blessing we enjoy, it's not ours. It's alone, and the moment we forget that Allah reminds Yush, humbles Yush, takes what we thought we owned, and in that crushing silence of loss, we realize, I never owned anything, not even myself. This, my brothers and sisters, is where the journey begins. A journey not of ego, but of breaking it, not of pride, but of prostration. And in this journey, the Prophet Muhammad has shown us the way. He, the greatest man to walk this earth, chose to walk with the poor, sit with the orphans, and bow his head in humility. So let's walk the next few minutes together deep into the ocean of humility, so we may drown our pride and rise again as the kind of servant Allah loves most. This is Islamic ethos. Arrogance is not always loud. It doesn't always appear in the form of shouting, mocking, or commanding others. Sometimes, arrogance hides quietly in the corners of our hearts, undetected, undisturbed, but deeply dangerous. It's a silent poison, a disease that eats away sincerity, suffocates humility, and severs the connection between the soul and its creator. And the worst part, most people who have it don't even realize it. The Prophet Muhammad warned us in the most direct way. No one who has an atom's weight of pride in his heart will enter paradise. That's not metaphor. That's not an exaggeration. That's a divine warning. A speck of pride. A mustard seed of arrogance. Enough to close the gates of Jannah, if left untreated. But where does arrogance begin? It begins with the self. When the self forgets its origin. When we stop remembering that we were created from a drop of despised fluid. When we begin to admire ourselves for something we had no control over, our looks, our intelligence, our wealth, our lineage. Arrogance creeps in. It begins with a thought. I'm better than him. It's subtle. It might not be spoken. It might not even be expressed. But it lingers in the heart. And the heart, when contaminated with pride, begins to Roshatan. May Allah curse him. Not a disbeliever. He worshipped Allah for thousands of years. But what destroyed him? One moment of arrogance. I am better than him, he said. You created me from fire, and you created him from clay. He compared. He looked down. He refused to bow to Adam but to the command of Allah. And from that moment, he became cursed forever. This is the origin of arrogance. Comparison. When you look at someone else and use your lens of superiority to say, I'm more qualified, I'm more worthy, I'm more beautiful, I'm more pious. That subtle shift in attitude is the birthplace of pride. The Prophet Muhammad explained that arrogance consists of two things, rejecting the truth and looking down on others, and both are deadly. Rejecting truth is when someone points out your mistake, and you defend your ego instead of correcting yourself. You know you're wrong, but admitting it would hurt your pride. And looking down on others is when you believe you're above someone based on race, wealth, appearance, education, or even your level of worship. Yes, even religious pride is deadly. How many people pray 5 times a day, fast regularly, and yet their hearts are polluted with the belief, I am more righteous than her. I am more pious than him. The moment you begin to think you are guaranteed paradise because of your deeds, you're already in danger. Real humility says, Ya Allah, I know I am nothing without you. Even my worship is by your mercy. I am not worthy, but I hope in your rahmat. The root of arrogance is forgetting your need for Allah. The second you feel independent, that's when pride sets in. Allah says in Surah Al-Isra, indeed, man transgresses because he sees himself self-sufficient. It's not wealth or power that corrupts, it's the illusion of not needing Allah. That's when people become pharaohs in their own minds. They think they control destiny. They forget that hearts are turned by Allah in a moment. They forget that blessings can vanish overnight, that beauty fades, that power shifts, that time runs out. The very first sign of spiritual downfall is when the heart begins to admire itself. That's why the scholars say, the biggest door to hell is Ana, I, me, mine. Pharaoh said, I am your Lord, the Most High. Qarun said, I was only given this wealth because of my knowledge. Iblis said, I am better than him. All of them used I, and all of them were destroyed by it. So ask yourself now, is there any part of me that thinks I'm better than others, that I deserve more, that I know more, that I'm above criticism? That is the seed of pride. If we don't tear it out now, if we don't purify it with sincerity and humility, it will grow until it blocks the light of guidance, and guidance only descends on those whose hearts are soft, broken, and humble. If there was ever a man who deserved to walk with his head held high, to be hinored with parades and praises, it was the Prophet Muhammad, a man chosen by Allah himself, a man whose words would echo across centuries. Yet, despite all of that, he never allowed arrogance to take root in his heart. Instead, his entire life was a living example of what true humility looks like. He mended his own clothes. He milked his own goats. He swept the floor of his home. When companions would rush to serve him, he'd say, "No, I am like you. I am a servant of Allah." His humility was not just in his actions. It was in his very being. He never walked with pride. And if a child grabbed his finger, he would walk with that child through the streets of Madinah, without saying a word, because that's who he was, the most beloved to Allah, yet the most humble before the people. He didn't want people to stand up for him when he entered a room. He didn't want hands kissing his, like kings or emperors received. He said, "I am not a king. I am a servant." This is the kind of humility that lifts a person so high that even the angels praise them. The Prophet Muhammad was not just humble in public. His humility was strongest at home. He would help his wives, serve his family, and never act like he was above anyone else. Let that sink in. The greatest man to ever walk this earth spent his evenings repairing his sandals and stitching his clothes. Why? Because true greatness is not in how loudly you are praised. It is in how quietly you serve. The Prophet Muhammad didn't warn against arrogance as a small moral flaw. He warned against it as a danger to your eternal soul. In fact, in one of the most chilling hadiths, he said, "No one will enter paradise who has an atom's weight of pride in his heart." Just an atom's weight. That's not the pride of a dictator. That's not the arrogance of a tyrant. It's the tiny bit of superiority that hides in everyday thoughts. When you look down on someone for the clothes they wear, or their accent, or their lack of knowledge. It's the feeling that you're somehow better than someone else. More religious, more successful, more educated. That's the poison. Arrogance begins in the heart and spreads like a disease. The moment you let it live in your soul, it grows quietly, feeding on your blessings. It whispers to you, "You deserve this. You're better than others. You don't need to listen. You don't need to change." But in reality, arrogance is the first step on the path to hell, because it was arrogance that destroyed Iblis. He refused to bow to Adam, not because he didn't believe in Allah. He knew Allah. He spoke to Allah. He was in the company of angels, but he let arrogance destroy him. "I am better than him. You created me from fire and created him from clay." One sentence, one belief. I am better. That's all it took for Shaitan to be cast out forever. And now he uses that same trick on us, every single day. He wants you to compare. He wants you to compete. He wants you to raise your nose and lower your gaze on others. But what he won't tell you is this. The more you raise yourself in pride, the lower you fall in the sight of Allah. And this is why the Prophet Muhammad said, "Whoever humbles himself for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise him." So ask yourself, do you want to be raised in the eyes of people, or raised by the one who created you? Arrogance isn't always loud. It doesn't always scream from a throne, or walk with a crown. Sometimes, it hides quietly in the corners of our behavior, in the way we think, in the way we speak. Most people don't even realize they're being arrogant. That's what makes it so dangerous. Let's uncover where pride hides. In conversation, you interrupt others often. You don't let people finish their sentences. Why? Deep inside, you believe what you're saying is more important. You name drop in casual speech, subtly trying to show your knowledge or influence. You correct people, not to help them, but to feel smarter than them. That's pride. In judging others, you see someone whose clothing isn't as religious as yours, and you think, they're not practicing Islam properly. You hear someone mispronounce a Quranic word, and you feel a secret boost in your ego. At least I recite better than that. This is hidden arrogance. It dresses itself in religiosity. But Allah knows what lies in the heart. The great scholar Ibn al-Qayyim said, "The greatest form of arrogance is when someone feels proud about their religious actions." Subhanallah, in worship, this pride can even creep into worship. When you feel your salah is more sincere. When you think your charity is greater. When you fast and think, most people don't even bother. You might be outwardly doing acts of obedience, but inwardly full of pride. And Allah does not accept deeds that come from an arrogant heart. This is why the Prophet Muhammad was constantly seeking forgiveness. He was the most sinless human, the most beloved to Allah, and yet he meditated far over 70 times a day, because he never let pride enter his soul. In leadership and Islamic work, even in DWA and leadership, pride finds a place. You lead a team, run a masjid, manage Islamic content, and slowly start to believe you're better. You think your opinion is final. You don't listen to feedback. You take criticism as an insult instead of a chance to improve. That's not leadership. That's ego in disguise. The Prophet Muhammad, the final messenger, the leader of an entire ummah, used to consult his companions, even the youngest of them. He would sit on the ground, not a throne. He would say, I am just a servant of Allah. This is the humility of greatness. Real humility isn't something you wear like a badge at a religious gathering. It's not a phrase you use on your tongue. I'm just a humble servant of Allah. Real humility is revealed in your actions, especially when no one is watching, and when everyone is. Let's begin at home, because that's where true character is exposed. The Prophet Muhammad, the most honored man on earth, the most beloved of Allah, didn't consider housework beneath him. He repaired his own sandals. He stitched his own clothes. He milked his animals. Not because there was no one to do it, but because he chose to. In fact, his companions said he would be in the service of his family until the time for Salah. Contrast this with many homes today, where pride takes the form of control, where a man thinks lifting a finger in the house is shameful, where a woman might look down upon her in-laws, where siblings fight over ego, and where apologies are rare, because why should I apologize first? Humility dies in homes where forgiveness is seen as weakness. Now let's move into society. The Prophet Muhammad walked among the poor and the rich alike. He ate with slaves. He prayed beside the outcasts. He gave the same smile to the powerful leader and to the orphan child in the street. One little girl once grabbed his hand and pulled him through the streets of Medina, and he let her. That was his humility today. Humility is almost absent in our public spaces. A doctor might look down on a janitor. An educated man might humiliate someone with broken English. We mock accents. We judge by skin tone. We confuse confidence with ego, and forget that the people we walk past may be more beloved to Allah than we aren't. Then there's the online world. The ego's playground. Humility seems to vanish the moment we touch a keyboard. Behind screens, arrogance explodes. We criticize scholars with hashtags. We call out others without knowing their full story. We shame, we roast, we mock, all in the name of speaking the truth. But the Prophet Muhammad said, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent. Humility online means not seeking followers, but seeking Allah. It means giving nasihah privately, not for clout. It means remembering that on the day of judgment, our comments will be read aloud by angels, not scrolled past by strangers. Dear viewer, humility in Islam is not a theory. It's a lifestyle. It's the way you lower your voice, the way you listen more than you speak, the way you hold the door open. And yes, it's even in the way you apologize first, even when your nafs is burning. That's the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. A question is not just do you claim to follow the Prophet. The real question is, do you humble yourself like him at home, in society, and even behind a screen? The ego is stubborn. It refuses to bow. It resists change. It clings to pride like a drowning man clings to a sinking ship. And sometimes, the only way Allah can rescue that soul is by breaking it. Not to destroy it, but to humble it, to purify it. Have you ever wondered why trials come into our lives just when we think we've got everything under control? Why do we lose the job we loved, the relationship we depended on, the wealth we built with our own hands? It's because our hearts began to whisper, this is mine. I earned this. I deserve this. And so Allah, in His mercy, sends a reminder, loss, a rejection and illness, a moment of powerlessness, so intense that your knees hit the ground and your heart screams, Ya Allah, I need you. This is not punishment. This is divine love. Allah says in the Qur'an, corruption has appeared on land and sea because of what the hands of men have earned, so that He may let them taste a part of what they have done. That perhaps they will return. Look at those words. Perhaps they will return. That's the goal of the trial, to return you to humility, to take you back to sujud, back to tears, intihar judge, back to hands raised in need. Let's go back in time to reflect. When Pharaoh said, I am your Lord, Most High, Allah didn't respond immediately. He gave him signs. He gave him Musa. He gave him warnings. But Pharaoh refused to be humbled, so Allah drowned him in the sea. The moment he said, I believe, it was too late. Contrast that with the prophetess, swallowed by a whale, alone in the dark depths of the ocean, with no helper but Allah. And what did he cry? There is no God but you. Glory be to you. Indeed, I was from the wrongdoers. He admitted his fault. He lowered his pride. And Allah raised him back. That's the pattern. Arrogance is punished. Humility is rescued. You're going through a trial right now, a painful, soul-wrenching moment. Ask yourself, is Allah calling me back to him through this? Is he gently peeling away the pride I didn't know had taken root in my heart? Sometimes, we have to lose everything to realize we never owned anything to begin with. Not our families, not our bodies, not our success, even our faith. It is a gift, not a trophy. Let's be real. Many people only start praying when they're broken, only start crying in dua when they've hit rock bottom. And Allah still listens. That is his mercy. That is why he allows our ego to be shattered. Because on the other side of that pain is a soul finally ready to surrender. Humility isn't weakness. It's the beginning of spiritual strength. When you admit your need for Allah, when you admit your mistakes, when you bow your head in prostration and whisper, I am nothing without you, that's when your rank begins to rise. Because the Prophet Muhammad said, whoever humbles themselves for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise them. This is Allah's divine equation. You lower yourself, he elevates you, and every trial is a chance to prove that humility. So, the next time life hits hard, don't just ask, why me? Instead ask, what part of me is Allah trying to soften? Among the most terrifying warnings in the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad is the one directly tied to arrogance. It's not about a worldly punishment. It's not about social rejection or hardship in this life. It's about complete denial of paradise, the ultimate loss. The Prophet Muhammad said, he who has even a mustard seed of arrogance in his heart will not enter paradise. Sahih Muslim. This is not metaphorical. It's literal. Even a speck, an atom's weight, a mustard seed. That's how dangerously subtle arrogance can be. You might pray 5 times a day. You might fast, give charity, even go for Hajj. But if arrogance is left unchecked in the heart, it can bar the gates of Jannah. Think about that. One hidden feeling of superiority over someone else. One time you looked down on a person's poverty, or mocked someone's accent or ignorance, and you risk being disqualified from the mercy of Allah. You can live your life looking religious, but if the heart is filled with pride, be it over your knowledge, wealth, beauty, race, or piety, that pride becomes a wall between you and your creator. Iblis, Shaitan, the one who worshipped Allah for thousands of years, was destroyed not because of disbelief, but because of arrogance. I am better than him. You created me from fire and him from clay. That one sentence, that one thought, was the beginning of his eternal downfall. And we must reflect, if we allow that same poison in our hearts, what makes us safe? True believers constantly scan their intentions. They check their hearts. When they feel pride, they humble themselves immediately, before Allah does it for them. Because when Allah humbles someone, he does it through loss, through disgrace, through a public reminder that no matter how high you rise, you are still his creation. The Prophet Muhammad once told his companions that paradise is surrounded by hardships, while hell is surrounded by temptations and ease. Arrogance is tempting. It's easy. It feeds the ego. But it leads to hell and humility. It's hard. It breaks the ego. But it leads straight to paradise. In this world, you might get away with pride. You might even be rewarded for it by people. But in the eyes of Allah, humility is the crown, and arrogance is the chain that drags people away from him. So ask yourself sincerely, is there pride in your heart today? If Allah judged you now, would your ego keep you from Jannah? True humility is not just a trait, it's a spiritual transformation. It's a journey of purifying the heart, crushing the ego, and recognizing your true place before Allah. It's not about acting weak, but about realizing your strength is borrowed, your beauty is gifted, your wealth is temporary, and your status is tested. So, how do we purify the heart and become truly humble? Step 1. Know yourself. You are dust. You were created from a drop of fluid. You didn't choose your height, your skin, your family, or your intelligence. Everything that makes you better than someone else is not really yours. It's a lost favor upon you, Allah says. In the Qur'an, did there not come upon man a time when he was nothing worth mentioning? You came from nothing. You will return to dust. This is your reality. Step 2. Know Allah, he is everything. The more you recognize Allah's greatness, the smaller you feel, and that's a beautiful feeling. Knowing he is Al-Malik, the King, Al-Aziz, the Almighty, and Al-Kabir, the Most Great, makes it easier to drop your pride. The one who knows Allah does not show off. The one who stands in front of Allah, in sujud, with a broken heart, is greater than the one who stands in front of people, with an inflated ego. Step 3. Serve others, especially those below you. The Prophet Muhammad served his family, mended his own clothes, and ate with slaves. He walked behind the weak and gave attention to the neglected. Serving others, especially those who cannot benefit you, breaks the ego like nothing else. Step 4. Embrace criticism. Let go of praise. Praise is a trap. The more people praise you, the more you believe in your inflated self. Real humility is thanking people, but not letting it go to your head. And when someone criticizes you, ask, is there any truth in it? That's the heart of a moment. Step 5. Talk to yourself every night before you sleep. Ask, was I arrogant today? Did I look down on someone? Did I feel better than others because of what I wore, what I owned, how I looked? Did I interrupt someone? Did I reject advice? Did I hurt someone's heart and not apologize? This nightly audit is purification. Step 6. Pray in secrecy and cry in sujud. Nothing softens the heart like sujud. When your head touches the ground and your tears fall for Allah, pride begins to melt. If you've never cried in salah, ask Allah for that moment. It's when your ego gets crushed and your soul rises. Step 7. Stay close to the poor, the orphans, the weak. The Prophet Muhammad said, help me find the weak among you, for you are only provided for and granted victory by how you treat the weakest among you. Stay away from arrogance by staying close to humility. Sit with the poor. Smile at the janitor. Help the one who can't repay you. That is where Allah's mercy is found. Step 8. Make this dua daily. O Allah, protect me from arrogance. O Allah, make me among the humble. Even the Prophet Muhammad, who had every reason to feel superior, made dua for humility. Who are we to think we are safe? Dear brothers and sisters, every one of us will stand before Allah one day. On that day, our titles, our followers, our degrees, our cars, our status, none of it will matter. The only thing that will matter is what was in your heart. Was it filled with pride and ego? Or was it filled with sincere humility, love for Allah, and service to others? Remember, Jannah is not for the proud. Jannah is for the broken, the sincere, the ones who bow before their Lord in secret, who smile when insulted, who forgive when hurt, and who always remind themselves, I am nothing without Allah. If this reminder touched your heart, don't let it end here. Like this video to help it reach more hearts. Comment one thing you will change to become more humble. Share this with someone you care about. Subscribe to Islamic Echoes, where every reminder echoes deep into your soul. Walk together, not with pride, but with humility, towards Jannah.